Thank you to the Clinton Jaws channel on getting the quick turnaround. I believe Bill Maher had this Friday night show where he finally talked about his meeting with Trump. And guys, I think he can't obviously just come out and say, "Hey, I think Trump is actually a better person, better politician, smarter, nicer guy than Barack Obama," because it would just cause so much backlash. But he basically says it in a tongue-in-cheek way in this monologue he has talking about his interaction with Trump. And I think this should be watched by everyone. It should be shown in school because this is really about making the world a better place by people who have opposing views coming together and talking versus constantly being at odds and constantly upping the rhetoric and trying to be more insulting instead of talking about what matters.
This list of almost 60 different insulting epithets that the president has said about me. Things like stupid, dummy, lowlife dummy, sleazebag, sick, sad, stone cold crazy. Really a dumb guy, fired like a dog, his show is dead.
Fired like a dog.
Love it. I brought this to the White House because I wanted him to sign it, which he did.
By the way, guys, there's a good chance since this is a super small new channel that I will automatically get strikes trying to put this up. So if it gets choppy, it's because I let YouTube chop out everything that it says I can't show. If I try to show anything with John Oliver, it just instantly gets chopped up. Even though I believe everything I'm doing here is within YouTube guidelines.
Which he did with good humor. And I know as I say that, millions of liberal sphincters just tightened. Oh my God, Bill, are you going to say something nice about him?
Trump shows them around. This is the office they go into.
After we left the Oval Office, he showed me the little room off the office, you know, the one where Clinton used to.
Still sick of the Clinton, Monica Lewinsky jokes. I don't know. I think it's really old, really stale. And everyone does it. Super, super, like not funny.
Okay. The blowjob room. Okay. Well, not anymore. That's where they keep the merch now.
Telling the truth.
And he gave me a bunch of hats, but he didn't shit tweeted a bunch of nasty crap about how he thought this dinner was a bad idea and what a deranged asshole I was. I read it and thought, oh, what a lovely way to welcome someone to your house. But when I got there, that guy wasn't living there. Ooh. Now, does Trump want respect? Of course, who doesn't? My friend said to me, what are you going to wear to the White House? I said, I don't know, but I'm not going to dress like Zelensky, I'll tell you that. But, okay. As a comedian of 40 years, I know a fake laugh when I hear it. And I thank you for them. No.
You gotta keep on watching. He gets emotional here. I thought he was gonna start crying.
But, okay, example. In the Oval Office, he was showing me the portraits of presidents, and he pointed to Reagan and said, in all seriousness, you know the best thing about him? His hair. Sure. But no, he laughed, he got it. I said to him at one point, Mr. President, you know the dog, that's unusual in the White House. He said, well, a lot of the presidents, they had a dog for political reasons. I said, no, people love dogs, that's what that is. Oh yeah, okay, that's true.
But Trump is also true. I remember seeing stuff about certain presidents only getting dogs as a PR thing.
I'm telling you what happened. At one point, we were walking through his amazing tour of the whole house. And I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but it must have been something with the 2020 election, because I know he used the word lost. And I distinctly remember saying, wow, I never thought I'd hear you say that.
He likes them.
He didn't get mad. He's much more self-aware than he lets on in
And
public.
he's scared he likes him
Look,
now.
I get it. It doesn't matter who he is at a private dinner with a comedian. It matters who he is on the world stage.
If you guys don't know, it's Bill Maher, Trump, Kid Rock, and Dana White, the Ultimate or UFC fighting guy, who's best buds with Joe Rogan, and is a good connector for the president. I'm not sure who this guy is on over here on the left.
I'm just taking as a positive that this person exists because everything I've ever not liked about him was, I swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all. I've had so many conversations with prominent people who are much less connected, people who don't look you in the eye, people who don't really listen because they just want to get to their next thing.
When I've heard this before, that Trump is very aware of who he's talking to and what the purpose is, because there are definitely people he will steamroll and talk over, and then there are definitely people that he lets them talk more and lets them dominate, because that's obviously one of the key rules of attraction is making sure the other person is talking more than you do.
People whose response to things you say just doesn't track, like, what? None of that with him. And he mostly steered the conversation to, what do you think about this? I know, your mind is blown. So
Yeah,
is mine.
it is. Yeah, I just got blown. Just got blown.
There were... Told him he was wrong when he tweeted the night before that I was critical of all things Trump. Not true. Check the tapes. Moving Israel's embassy to Jerusalem, loved it. The border did need to be controlled. I'm glad the cops are getting their morale back. DEI had gone too far. Biological men shouldn't be playing women's sports. Europe should pay for their defense. And of course, it makes sense that Arab countries should take in Arab refugees, like the million Syrians who wound up in Germany when Saudi Arabia took none. He said to me, "You're right, they took none." I said, well, you should remind your boyfriend in Saudi Arabia that the next time you see him. He laughed. I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama.
He is actually doing this monologue perfectly.
But I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Yeah, I get it. The most surreal part of the whole night was when I got home. I flew back right after the dinner, and I'm in bed watching 60 Minutes from the night before. And there's Trump.
This is actually the best part. I love this, the best part. But I want to tell you guys something. This happened to me 4 times in my life. Listen, let's talk about something serious. The American dream, it's at risk. In hardworking debt analysis, they're offering you guys
Their stories, standing at a podium in a room that looked to me like one of the rooms and places we'd just been in. And he's ranting, disgusting, you're a terrible person. And I'm like, who's that guy? What happened to Glinda the Good Witch? And why can't we get the guy I met to be the public guy? And I'm not saying it's our responsibility to do that. It's not. I'm just reporting exactly what I saw over 2.5 hours.
Guys, the biggest weakness and biggest disappointment with Obama was he was always the nice guy. He was always trying to appease everyone. Really, the only thing that he could ever claim to fame is the healthcare reform, which is just fingers in the dam. But when Obama had a second term, I thought maybe he would actually just go nuts and do what he thought was right and have some conflict. But Obama is the definition of it's all charisma, not a whole lot beyond that. And so now with Trump, obviously he treats the public like a child or a toddler, where you have to constantly be posturing and constantly be guiding them. He doesn't care if people like them. Two totally different forms of leadership. totally different types of presidents.
I went into the mine, and that's what's down there. A crazy person doesn't live in the White House. A person who plays a crazy person on TV a lot lives there, which I know is fucked up. It's just not as fucked up as I thought it was. And I have no illusions now that I'm back to work at my job that he might start a new list. But I also think he now understands I have a job to do, or at least he did on this night, because
Guys, keep in mind there are a lot of really high profile people, especially in the investment world, that when Trump won, they went off the deep end. Because they live in California and they doubled down on all this craziness and rhetoric and, anti-Elon, anti-Tesla, anti-sanity. Um, and Bill Maher is having a lot of his circle that are like, F you, I'll never talk to you again. So keep that in mind. I mean, the good thing with him is he does have the attitude of, if myself, Bill Maher, thinks you're crazy, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't care how long we'd be friends. And then if you want to come back later and try to tell me you're sane and make peace, that's fine. But Bill Maher doesn't give an F what other people think, just like Trump. And that's probably one of the main reasons why they are able to make peace move ahead and hopefully help a lot of other Americans to do the same thing.
because he said to me early on that he'd seen our last episode, which was the Friday before this dinner. And he said, I thought maybe you'd be nice, but you hit me really hard. I did. Because I'm not going to pull my punches that presidents get to propose a third term for themselves. He understood that, and without animus. That doesn't mean he's not going to try to do it. At one point, I said to him, you're scaring people. Do you really want to be scaring your own citizens so much?
Not.
And I know now you're all saying, and what did he say to that? Honestly, I don't remember.
And another leadership, you look at history, throughout history, because a leader scares people, it doesn't mean they're a bad leader. If you're scaring people through violence and whatnot, I mean, yes, it's manipulation, but just because someone's scary doesn't necessarily mean they're bad. There are obviously a lot of examples of them being bad, but there's also examples of leaders pushing ahead, being good leaders, and scaring those who should be scared because their behavior is out of line and detrimental.
But it wasn't okay, I'll stop.
You see that? I've done speeches my entire life in front of people and he knew exactly what he was going to say, but honestly, I don't remember. I don't believe that. He just wanted to stop talking about it because he was going to break down there. I'm just saying, maybe I'm wrong, but that's something I would have done.
Honestly, I don't remember. But it wasn't okay, I'll stop.
I don't know. Maybe I'm
So MAGA fans, don't worry. Your boy gave me nothing. Just hats. Hats and a very generous amount of time and a willingness to listen and accept me as a possible friend, even though I'm not MAGA, which was the point of the dinner. My favorite part of the whole night was we were standing in the blowjob room. We were.
We were.
And he said, you know, I've heard from a lot of people who really like that we're having this dinner. Not all, but a lot. And I said, same. A lot of people told me they loved it, but not all. And we agreed. The people who don't even want us to talk, we don't like you. Don't talk, as opposed to what? Beautiful. Writing the same editorial for the millionth time and making 25-hour speeches into the wind? Really, that's what liberals have? He takes the piss out of everybody else and we can hold ours? Okay, that's my report.
Guys, one thing I'm surprised that Bill Maher hasn't brought up is, if this corruption is true, and not that it's all Democrats, but as far as I've seen, all of these non-governmental organizations, NGOs, and nonprofits, almost all of them are Democrat side. So if all of these allegations are true, and this corruption has been going on as long as it has, a lot of lifelong Democrats, their whole like meaning is over. Like they don't even know what to believe in anymore. And so Bill Maher has done a good job of seeing this Titanic of the Democratic Party about to crash and grasping onto that, um, and being able to change and adapt. And most everyone else has not. So props to him on that. But I'm surprised he hasn't talked about it more. To be honest.
You can hate me for it, but I'm not a liar. Trump was gracious and measured, and why he isn't that in other settings, I don't know, and I can't answer, and it's not my place to answer. I'm just telling you what I saw, and I wasn't high.
He's worried. He's worried that people are going to hate him for this, but people are going to love him for this. Wow. And I hope you guys understand why it was choppy. Okay, I'm not going to explain it, but I hope you made it through the choppiness. It's unbelievable.
Hello, guys. What do you think? Do you think Bill Maher was tearing up? I didn't quite feel that vibe that much. But yeah, he does make a good point that Bill Maher is taking a lot of risk with this, but he's crossed that bridge a lot, and I just think a lot of people aren't aware of it. He's been talking more and more to conservatives. He's been calling out the Democratic Party, how DEI is destroying the party, destroying the country, and then obviously the men and women's sports, men in women's bathrooms and locker rooms is just totally out of control. But what do you guys think? Bill Maher making this big leap. Oh, hey, by the way, I gotta let him finish his last little thing here because the main thing, the most important thing. Actually, no, I don't think it's on this video. But anyway, guys, he just talks about how getting together and talking is with your opponent is the main thing, and that anyone anywhere who's saying that that's you shouldn't talk, that Democrats and Republicans shouldn't talk, or enemies shouldn't talk, are wrong, and they're not helping the country, the U.S. citizen, the American experiment move forward.